Hello everyone, welcome to a new video lecture. In this lecture, we'll be discussing about structures in C programming language. So all of you are familiar with the various built-in data types. Data types are actually used to specify what kind of data is to be stored in a variable. So the basic common built-in data types were integer, character, floating point, double, etc. Integer was to store an integer data, character was to store character data, and floating point was to store real data which has floating point numbers. So a single variable can only store a single type of data. A variable can only store a single data at a time. Similarly, array can store multiple values, but every value should also be of a single data type. So that was the disadvantages of using a data type, of using a built-in data type. Only a single kind of data can only be used. But in some cases we need to store data of multiple data of a multiple data types. For example, if you want to store the data of a student data, see, in your class there are 63 students. To store the data of those 63 students, you need 63 variables to store the roll numbers, or an array for storing the variables, another array for storing the names of the student, another array for storing their marks, etc. It goes on like that. So you require multiple variables, and each of these variables will be for, say, for roll number you have an array, for name you have an array, then for marks you have an array, then your details you have another array. So you have multiple variables for storing each and every details of a single person. So instead of that, if you have a single data type where you can store all these data into a single variable, that will be very useful. So such data types, which the combination of the various built-in data types, are called structures. They are also called derived data type. Combination of multiple inbuilt data types are called structures. So structure is a derived data type which is a combination of multiple built-in data types. So it is a user defined data type, and it is a combination of different data types together. It can have an integer value, it can have a floating point value, it can have arrays, it can have characters, any kinds of values is possible. It is similar to array with differences. Array is a homogeneous data type, but structure is a heterogeneous data type. All kinds of data are possible. And structure is basically used to store a record. To store a record is a basic purpose of an structure. Now moving on to the declaration of a structure. To declare structure, you require the keyword struct, struct. That is the keyword that is used to specify that you're going to declare a structure variable. So after the keyword, you can specify the structure name. You can give any name. So if you want a student data, you can give the name as student. If you want a class data, you can give the name as class. Then if you want to say details of line, you can give the details as line. Any such names you can give based on the details or based on your requirement. If you want employee, you can give the name as employee. So after that, you have to give a flower bracket, and then you have to specify what all data you have to store in that. So for example, in a student, you will require, say, for example, student, you require the name of the student, then maybe you require the roll number, then you may require the marks. So all these data can be written separately. So first here, the char name will specify that the student will have a name which is of data type char, and it is an array having 10 values. Then next you have a roll number. The student will have a single roll number, and then you have int marks of 5, means you have an array marks which is of integer data type, and it can have maximum of 5 values. So for declaration, you can give a data type and give a member name, another data type and give a member name, another data type, give a member name. Each of this must be ended by a semicolon. And so after that, you have to close the structure by using a flower bracket and end it with a semicolon. So you all remember, when you declare a variable, you have to end it with a semicolon. Similarly, when you have to declare a structure, you have to end it with a semicolon. That is the semicolon over here. So you can declare multiple data members inside the structure, each of which are of different data types or same data types. But you can't write as int age comma roll number. You have to give int age semicolon next line in roll number. So different specifications should be written differently. So here, for declaring a structure variable, you can add the keyword struct, so that the compiler is informed that you're going to declare a structure. Then you have to give a name, a structure name. Can be any name. Only thing is that it has to specify the conditions of variables. Then you have to give the list of variables, which will be separated by a semicolon. And after end also, there should be a terminating semicolon. So this is the example of a structure with the name students. Student is a name given to that structure. You have written the keyword struct before that. You have opened the brackets, and then you have given 3 data members. The first is the name, the second is the roll number, and third is the marks. And if you have ended it with the closing bracket and the semicolon. Okay, so here you have the first is name, and it is an array of 10 values. So 10 variable 10 size. So here you have 10 positions. Then you have another position for storing the roll number. It is a single data. And then you have max, which is an array of 5 values. So this is how the data will be stored in the memory. For student, there is a position for name which will reserve 10 spaces. Then roll number, it will store single space. For marks, it will store 5 space. So this is how the student will be written in your memory, or how the space will be, the memory will be allocated for student. Okay, next, to declare a structure variable. So you have declared a new data type. So student is a new data type. So now you have to declare variables of the data type student. So for that, you can use 2 methods. The first method is, you have to give the keyword struct. Then you have to give the name of your structure, and then specify the variable name, end it with a semicolon. That is one method. Okay, so just give the keyword struct, the name of the structure, and then give the variable name, specifying all those conditions required to a variable. Another method is, you remember that we ended with a semicolon. So before ending with the semicolon, you can give the variable name there. You can write any number of variables here separated by commas. That is say, for example, in this example, you have written struct student char name S1 in roll number, then marks, and then here you have written S1. So here you can write S1 comma S2, then semicolon. That is also possible. The second method, struct student, you have written S2. So these are the 2 examples where I have written the declaring the variables of a student. So here I've told that after S1 you can give a comma, write S2, and then end with semicolon. Here you can write any number of variables possible separated by comma, and finally you have to end it with a semicolon. Here also you can write any number of variables separated by comma, ended with a semicolon, similar to how you declare a variable in C. A similar integer or character variable, you can write int A1, A2, etc. Semicolon. Similarly, same method also you can write multiple variables here, ended with a semicolon. Here also you can write multiple variables separated by comma, ending with semicolon. So this is how you declare the variables. Next is, you have to access the data members. So you have individual data members. So inside the student, you have a data member for storing the age, then you have a data member for storing the name, you have data member for storing the marks. So to access each of these individual value, you have to use the dot operator. Okay, so dot is the operator that is used to access each of the member name. So for that, you have to use the variable name first, and then specify the member name. See here example, S1 was the variable that we declared, and age is one of the data member inside. So see, S1 dot, sorry, it's not age, it's roll number. You can give any name. I'm just giving an example here. So S1 dot roll number can be written here. Similarly, S2 dot marks of 0, S2 dot marks of 2, anything like that can be written there. Yes, you can write S1 dot roll number, S1 dot age, whatever it is, whatever variables you have given inside that corresponding variables can be used here, that data members can be used here. So here, this single structure student means it is a record student which contains a name, a roll number, and a marks of 5 subjects. So that is what this structure means. So for each student you can have a name, a roll number, and marks of 5 subjects can be stored for each student. That is S1, then struct student S2. And now for an example, sample problem, sample program using structure. So here first your structure student is declared. You have character, int char name, int id, int age, and you're ended with a semicolon. And then inside your main, you're assigning values to each of these variables. So st.name, so st is a variable that you have declared for student. So st.name sheet, that is the same will go to this position name, 1 2 3 4 will go to the position id, and 30 will go to the age value. So each of these values will be assigned to this position. And to display also you have to use, to access, display, read, write, whatever it is, you have to use the dot operator. So here if you put student name as st.name, here the value is t, so t will be displayed. st.id, the id will be displayed, and then st.age, then age will be displayed here. So taking another example, you have declared a structure point. It has two variables, int x comma y. This is also possible, comma operator you can write possible. Then you're declaring a variable p1, and then you are entering the values. You are reading p1.x and p1.y, and then we are assigning p1.x is equal to 20, and then you are displaying the values. Okay, so first I'm entering the value 10, and that will be going into this x, and 30 that will be going into y, and then this x is equal to 20. Here this assigned as x is equal to 20. That's why when you display the value of x becomes 20, and y you have given the value 30, so that 30 will be displayed. So to access those variables you have to use the dot operator. Okay, so that is how we are declaring a structure. Give the keyword struct, then give the name of the structure, open bracket, write all the possible variables, close it, and end it with a semicolon. Before ending with semicolon you can write the number of variables. You can declare the variables there, and then you have to access those variables, access those data members. You have to use the dot operator. Dot operator is used to access the values inside your structure. And then to display you can write any other operations that is done to a single variable can be done to the can be done to the structure variable on the basis that based on the data type only you can do the process. Okay, so whatever is the data type of this data member, based on that all types of operations are possible on the structure. So this is an introduction of a structure. The structure is a derived, a user defined data type which is a heterogeneous type. That is, it can contain multiple type of data members of different data types. So it is actually used to store a single record of data. So a single student record can be stored, or a single employee record can be stored, or anything like that can be stored. To store a single record of data you are using structure. To declare a structure you have to use the keyword struct, and then give a name for the structure, and you can specify all the data members. And when you specify the data members you have to give the data type of that each data of that data member. You have to end the structure with a semicolon. So to declare a variable you can either write it using the declaration of the structure, or you can write it in a separate manner by using the keyword struct, the name, and then give the variable name. And to access all the members in a structure you have to use the dot operator. So that's all about introduction to structure.